Well, good afternoon. On a snowy afternoon here in Montreal. Wow. Started yesterday, November the 11th, and I think it's moved on today some. Hopefully it won't stay, but it might. Anyway, good to be with you again. As I said, I'm trying to be a little more regular in sharing this series on that I'm entitling Face to Face with Jesus. I am Scott Campbell. I am a retired missionary pastor who has been in Quebec almost 40 years. And again, primarily working among French Quebecers, though I did have some impact among English speakers as well. Today, I'd like to talk about one of the most interesting people that Jesus encountered, and surely one of the most difficult for those around him to accept. I'm speaking about the apostle who was a disciple, and then Jesus named him with 11 others. He named them apostles or sent ones. That's what the word in Greek means, to be a sent one. And the one I want to speak about is Matthew. And Matthew he's just in a class all his own. Let's just put it that way. And the fact that Jesus meets him, calls him, recruits him, is definitely one of the oddities of his team that he develops. Who is this man? He actually has two different names. One is Matthew, which means gift of God. A second name he has that's given him in the Gospel of Luke is Levi. Now, Levi means one who is attached to or dedicated to. And in this case, would be, I'm sure his parents would have named him in the hopes he'd be dedicated to God and faithful to him. So we have this man whose parents name gift of God and dedicated to God, who, for whatever reason, and we don't know why, uh, goes sideways. Uh, when we meet him, he is a tax collector. Now, it's very important that people know, what does that mean? Tax collectors are not popular today, uh, right? But a tax collector, a Jewish tax collector who worked for the Romans, was even more unpopular than they are today. And that's what we find out about Matthew. He has decided to become a traitor to his people, the Jewish people, who were under Roman oppression. And yet he has decided to go to work for them, collecting taxes from his people, the Jews, giving obviously those taxes to the Romans, and most likely pocketing uh, a certain share, a certain percentage that would probably make him well to do. That was the general pattern of tax collectors. They were, of course, outcasts among the Jewish people. They were considered to be traitors, as I said, working for the enemy. They were shunned by religious leaders, shunned by the normal people. They were considered impure. So here is a man who had been named gift of God and attached to God, actually working in kind of the opposite profession that his parents probably would have desired. And yet, as bad a reputation as this man has, Jesus decides to go after him and recruit him. It's a very very short um, recitation of what happens in the Gospel of Matthew. So we see what he became. He went on to literally write a gospel, uh, this outcast among the Jews. In Matthew chapter 9 and verse 9, it says, as Jesus was walking along, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at his tax collector's booth. And Jesus said to him, follow me, be my disciple. And Matthew got up and followed him. And later, Matthew invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as dinner guests, along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. But when the Pharisees, that's the Jewish leaders, saw this, they asked the disciples, why does your teacher eat with such scum? This is from the New Living Translation. So, for whatever reason, Jesus takes a huge chance on Matthew. Jesus looks past everything that his other disciples can say, everything the crowd is going to say. And he stands in front of Matthew and he calls him to follow him. And we don't know what has been going on in Matthew's life and in his heart, but he makes the decision to get up then and there, leave his tax collecting table, and follow Jesus. Now, just a parenthesis, many of you are aware of the series uh, video. It's been on Netflix and elsewhere, a series called The Chosen. And The Chosen is a fictitious recreation of the life of Jesus and his disciples. Some things are clear, they're in the Bible, no one can argue with the fact that those things happen. But they develop a whole character around Matthew and what's going on in him and what he's like and his parents and his background. Okay. So I just put that in there. All very interesting, very well done. Not, however, in the Bible. So anyway, so Matthew is so touched, excited, and maybe just awed by the fact that Jesus sees how he's living, sees his job, sees every possible negative thing, and yet still calls him. Matthew responds. One message, therefore, we get in this face to face with Jesus is, hey, any of us, any of us, uh, any of us pass. Jesus calls us. It's not based on the great people we are. It's not based on how faithful we're going to be to him. It's based on the fact that Jesus decides he's going to turn his look or his uh, vision toward us and call us. And when we sense the love, the compassion, the grace that is in that look, that's in that voice, that's in that calling, we have a great opportunity to respond. Not everybody does. In the New Testament, it's clear, in the Gospels, it's clear. Not everybody responds to Jesus and follows him. But Matthew does. And Matthew gathers, this is what's great, he gathers all his friends, all his good buddies, all these people that he hangs around with. Well, who are they? They're other tax collectors, and it talks in here of people of disreputable reputation. They're They could be prostitutes. They could be who knows what. It's the outcasts. It's the marginalized of his society. And so he gathers them for a meal and asks Jesus and his disciples. And we always see a type of juxtaposition and opposition often between Jesus and religious leaders like the Pharisees, who are strict and often judgmental and won't have anything to do with Matthew and people like him. And they say that to Jesus' disciples. It's interesting, they don't kind of dare say it to Jesus face to face, but they say to the disciples, what is he doing? What is he doing? Eating, drinking, talking with these people who are outcasts, who are obviously terrible people. And Jesus is clear. He says, I've come for those who know that they're sick, who know that they need help, who know that their lives are not together. That's who I've come for. I haven't come for those who think their life is together the way that religious leaders do. No, Jesus comes for those who know they need him. Anyway, what a great story. We can only imagine how it shook up his team. Again, the chosen shows certain ways that that happened. But it was probably a very tough choice for the team members, the other apostles, to accept this man. But they surely did based on the choice of Jesus. So, no matter who we are, who you are, who I am, when Jesus calls, we can come. Just come. Just meet him. Let him meet you where you are. He doesn't ask you to clean anything up to meet him, and then he'll go from there. Good to be with you.